So we're one episode into Green Lanterns. And I want to emphasize this before I really start to talk about what I watched last night. This is probably, and again, like I said, we're one episode in. So, but this is probably the best thing we've gotten from the DCU. With that being said, it's still a pretty bad show. It's still a pretty bad premise, and it's still a pretty bad comparison to True Detective. Now, I've already done a couple videos talking about this show way before it came out. I think back when they were doing their principal photography on this show. Like I've said before, I'm not going to reiterate most of the stuff that I said in those videos, but I did say I didn't know who Aaron Pierre was before last night, before watching this show last night. Obviously, a big fan of Kyle Chandler. Great duo. Great duo. Their chemistry on screen, amazing. With that being said, we know what they did last night. We know what the fast forwarding is showing us that Hal Jordan is dead, which confirms everything, all the speculations that we had before anyways, because Aaron Pierre, Jon Stewart, is in Man of Tomorrow, which they're already filming. So, I was right. My feeling about this being a bad show was right. Now, I want to start off by saying this. It's not a terrible show. It's a terrible, quote-unquote, superhero show. And that's why I say quote-unquote superhero show, because it's not really a superhero show. But let's go ahead and get into my review. We're going to get into this. We're one episode in, and turns out I was right once again. This is the Warner Man show for DC. Damn. It's almost like I said this 6 months ago when we saw the pictures of this. And I said, oh, so they're going to try and give us... I said at best, this was going to be a Wonder Man. Meaning, it can be a good show and not a good superhero show. I.e., in other words, you're wasting my fucking time with me sitting down on a Sunday night watching this shit. Because if I wanted to watch True Detective, I'd watch True Detective. But let's get into that too. This isn't a Green Lantern show. It's an HBO show. When they said True Detective, they literally meant that shit. Also, Jon Stewart sleeps with another ugly actress, and he sleeps with the grandma, who's played by an ugly ass actress. Now again, no shade to the actress, but she's not attractive, like not even at the least. So they've got all this weird shit going on. And this is why I say, when people are like, oh, it's not James Gunn's it's not his project. It's in his universe. It's a part. He's the head honcho. That's like saying Kevin Feige had nothing to do with Shang-Chi. Kevin Feige had nothing to do with Wakanda Forever. That's like saying that Kevin Feige didn't have anything to do with that dog shit that they put out called Agatha All Along. I could go on for days about the MCU and all the failed and dog shit that they spewed out over the past 7 years. It's the same thing over there at DC. Yes, we can say Damon Lindelof or Damon, however you fuck you say his name, the guy that did that terrible series a few years ago, Watchmen. Yeah, we can blame him, but he's just doing what he does. That's what he's known for, is being a fucking weirdo and terrible at storytelling. Who hired him? Who sent you? Who put you in the room? Who gave you the pen? James fucking Gunn. Now, the first half of this show, the first half of the episode, they had me. The beginning, I was like, I wonder where they're going with this. You know, the little flashback scene with him and his kid, him as a kid, with his brothers and his dad. I'm like, okay, I'm picking up what you're putting down, but let's see where this goes. Now, clearly, the dad is going to be an alien. Has to be a fucking alien. Which would make a lot of sense for Jon Stewart to be a quote-unquote chosen one. And again, I'm not going to go through every detail of the episode. I'm just going through the pros and cons to me. But I already had a bad taste in my mouth when they kept saying, "Oh, True Detective," and then there are some comparisons yesterday from some of the early reviews that I saw of people saying X-Files. And I'm like, okay, so now they're going to try and do this whole Secret Invasion BS. Even though it's not really Secret Invasion in DC, you could kind of argue probably had that storyline before Marvel, but you get what I mean in terms of the show, Secret Invasion. But I am tired. I'm so tired. And this is why I didn't get excited for the show at all. But I said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and at least watch the first episode. It's not like I'm going to not watch it because I can't talk about it. I can't say this show's dog shit if I don't watch it myself. And I was quite intrigued. I was quite entertained and kind of into the story and these characters. Again, the chemistry between Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan, amazing. Now, I would say there are times where I feel like Jon Stewart, if you're really his trainee, or apprentice, as some would say, like maybe have like a better like understanding of how to follow. But again, it's a show. I'm not gonna gripe too much on the show because we have 6 or 7 episodes left for them to actually tell a full blown story. And maybe he'll change. Maybe he'll understand Hal Jordan a little bit more. But what they did at the end of the episode, killing off Hal Jordan in the future, and then showing us, oh, okay, they come right back to the spot where on the field where they had the incident, right? You give us an alien and still not show us fucking aliens. And for people saying, oh, maybe they didn't have the budget, blah, blah. Well, if you don't have the budget, don't do the fucking show. So now you're telling me is that you're going to give the Jimmy Olsen show that you're supposed to be doing next year more money than a Green Lantern show that's not even Green Lanterns to begin with anyway? A show that actually involves aliens? You want to know why I say the Jimmy Olsen show? Because it has Gorilla Grodd in it. So is that going to be your whole budget? Is just showing Gorilla Grodd and making Gorilla Grodd show up in every episode? That's going to be all your money? James Gunn has a fundamental, like, I don't know what kind of complex you would even call this. But I have no idea why he has been ignoring all of the fucking fans. The real ones. Not the ones that have these weird-ass flags in their bio. Not the ones that have these creepy profile pictures. Real people that are trying to give real money to these IPs that we have loved growing up. The ones that know about the lore. The ones that care about these characters. And then when you put and make the worst version of these characters and put them on screen, yeah, we're going to feel some type of fucking way about it. Hal Jordan got completely assassinated last night. No pun intended. But completely assassinated last night as a character in the second half of the episode. Now, I will say that interrogation scene was good. I liked the interrogation scene. It actually made me laugh. But Jon Stewart sleeping with the grandma, very unnecessary. I don't even... And again, I'm not the kind of person that's like, oh, sex scenes should never be in any kind of superhero product. But look, DC can be more adult and whatever, but it's got to have some levity to it. It's got to have some, like, context to it. I'm not saying that, her having sex, them having sex in the truck isn't going to have any complications later on down the road in the story. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying wasn't necessarily needed in the show. Did we necessarily have to see that? Did this have to happen? And then we find out later on that Dillahunt, who plays her husband, I forget his name in the show. I think it's like Makos or something like that. I can't remember. But he actually found out that she slept with Jon Stewart. Because he mentions it later on in the story, or later on in the episode, towards the end of the episode, where he says something like, what do you say? He said, oh, yeah, he said, nothing like eating off another man's grill, or something like that. And then I was thinking, like, okay, maybe I was like, that's kind of weird. But then he actually confirmed it literally seconds later, where Hal Jordan asked him, he's like, what's that all about? And Jon Stewart's like, maybe I slept with his wife. And he's like, maybe slept with his wife. He's like, I definitely slept with his wife. And I'm sitting here like, bruh, you went from 3 years ago announcing that we're getting a Green Lantern show to now it being compared to and pretty much copied, a parody, if you will, of True Detective. And they're trying really hard to make a parody of True Detective Season 1. You know, with Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey, which is, to me, the best, by far the best season of all the True Detective seasons. They only got worse the more they made. So Season 2 was good, but not as good as 1. Season 3 was worse, and then, yeah, after that, you're just, yeah, it's bad. But, yeah, we're going from, hey guys, we're going to do a Green Lantern show. It's going to come out in 2020. Actually, this was supposed to come out in 2025, I believe, and then they pushed it twice. Like they do everything. Hi, Matt Reeves. Mr. I make only two Batman movies in 8 years. Yeah, we're talking to you too. But now we get to this here in 2026. Now we are here to where Jon Stewart is actually sleeping with another man's wife in a truck in episode 1 in the first 25 minutes of this fucking show. And we're not supposed to have a problem with that? We're supposed to sit here and say, oh, wow, what a masterpiece this show is. What? Nah, dog. Nah. You can't show any aliens. Well, I'm not saying you can't, but you decided not to show any fucking real aliens. The dude is just a straight up nobody, a straight up fucking human. And then, now there were rumors that they were going to kill off Hal Jordan. I thought that's when they were going to kill off Hal Jordan, was when the alien blew up. And I was like, oh, fuck, man, what a complete dog shit. Turns out, they had a worse idea than that. Let's go ahead and show you guys that at the end of the series, Hal Jordan will be no more. If anything, we're going to get that stupid backup of his memory, which shows up as a hologram whenever Jon Stewart has the ring. Oh, by the way, we have 2 lanterns on Earth and 1 ring. Now, before I get to what Lindelof said about this, about the ending, and how the fans will be shocked with the killing of Hal Jordan at the end of episode 1, I do want to mention the chick cop, because I mentioned this in my 2 previous videos when I found that they were doing a sheriff, right? And it was gonna, of course, be a chick, DEI. You know they got to do that. And I said, you know what? I literally said there's gonna be another girl boss, a fucking bossy ass bitch, whatever. Turns out she's not. So I definitely Dutton Ranched myself, if you will, where it kind of turns out I was wrong on that end. And here's one thing I will say. If you got, just go back and watch this episode, because when I was watching this, I haven't watched it more than once. I only watched it last night, and then that was it. And I just wrote down my thoughts and just given it to him. But go back and watch that episode. If you see her try and put the handcuffs on old dude when after Jon Stewart punches him and he goes to the ground, watch it how incompetent she is at even trying to put the handcuffs on him. I just got to say, man, look, they were kind of realistic in her being incompetent. So hopefully if they can continue to do that and not make her and not groom her into being a girl boss. Now, we do know she lives in the end, which I think is bullshit. Again, why would you show that these 3 characters, not even these 2, because we already know Jon Stewart, Hal Jordan, whatever, but why would you even show any other characters that are going to live or die by the end of this? Like, if you wanted to be a true, quote-unquote, mystery, which, again, we're talking about Green Lanterns, if you're going to do a mystery, why do it on Earth? There's zero reason, again, for us to even be on Earth for this story if we're going to do it to begin with, which we shouldn't be doing this storyline anyway. Just my thoughts, man. But before we get out of here, I do want to show you guys what Damon Lindelof said. If not, then I'll have to edit this part out because it might be copyrighted. But the fact that they actually did this, this universe is an insult to every DC fan in existence. Fuck the DCU. Facts. I've been telling y'all for quite some time. I cannot defend these creators, and I cannot defend directors and writers anymore when they do stupid shit like this. Like, seriously, this is you can't really go the way of whole, like, racism and shit like that, because Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan have always had some kind of relationship as characters. Not to this extent, but, and especially with Hal Jordan, the way he is in the show is, again, the worst version of the character that you could ever pick to be in the show. But that's what they do. This is what Hollywood does. They either create their own version, which is some fucking simp or some dude that is very incompetent, like that female cop in the show, or they'll create a version like this where he's just completely still emasculated. He's deemed to be crazy. Obviously, you can see a little bit of like trauma that they try to put into his into his character and his past and everything. And if you even go back to the way that he explains how he even got the ring, you can kind of see little glimpses of like where he's kind of blocking out the trauma and all that, and the way he really feels about the situation, how scared he was, and the fear. Because I do feel like later on, later on in the show, he's gonna admit that he did not say that he had no fear. But again, I don't know. Maybe they might keep that. I don't know. That's just me. So Damon Lindelof, the guy whose decision it was to kill off Hal Jordan and to show it in the first fucking episode, you don't have to listen to me. You can hear it straight from the whore's mouth.
Like, what if we signaled to the audience?
And why does he look like Steve-O from like 20 years ago? Back when Steve-O was actually like somewhat healthy. I wouldn't say healthy, but back when Steve-O was still crazy and before he lost all his teeth. Looks like Steve-O.
That only, like, that Hal was not going to make it until the end of this season, at least. When do we want to show that card? It's like, let's just get it, let's just do it in the pilot.
You wanted people to know exactly what they're getting into by showing us that at the end of the first episode, that Hal Jordan is dead. They can never get out of their own way, bro.
Versus to get all the way to the finale and then kill Hal.
It felt cheap to kill Hal Jordan at the very end of the episode. At the very end of the season is what he's saying. Cheap? Cheap? No. You don't get to think about cheap or anything. Or well, what about this? What about that? Because you did not have the fans in mind when you made a decision. You didn't. You can't talk about cheap when you make a show like The fucking Watchmen. One of the worst things superhero related I have ever seen in my life. You don't get to think about cheap when now you're presenting this to us and literally coming straight out of your mouth and saying, yeah, we plan to kill Hal Jordan from the jump, but we just want to know when would be a good time to show it. Do we show it at the end when it actually happens, or do we actually let them know, hey, at the end of the first episode, we're telling Kyle Chandler, or not Kyle Chandler, but we're telling Hal Jordan, go to hell. No respect for the actual characters and bearers of this IP. Like, bruh, I'm telling you right now, man. The character assassination that they're doing to Batman. The character assassination that they're doing to the Green Lanterns. And look, they're going to make Batman, they're going to assassinate Batman even further if James Gunn actually is able to get his hands on Bruce Wayne and the rest of the gang before he gets fired after. Look, that's the rumor right now, is that he's going after Man of Tomorrow. I don't know how true that is. I don't know how relevant that is, but I hope that's true. Obviously, we need somebody else in charge. Obviously, he does not know what the fans really want. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. What do the fans want? How can we keep the fans intrigued? This shit right here is not keeping the fans intrigued. Like I said, it's an HBO show. It's not a superhero show. I want to see my superheroes do superhero shit. I've said that from the jump. I've said that since day one of this channel. Superheroes do superhero shit. I don't need everybody to be grounded. I don't need everybody to be fucking grim. I don't need everything to be fucking realistic or touch on realism. We don't need a story about humans. We need a story about aliens, lanterns, and space cops. Fuck you, James Gunn. Hit that like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Am I overreacted? I probably am, but it's your boy Corn, and I am disappointed.